Welcome back to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. We're so glad you're here with us. I was thinking about how we were going to keep the vibe going of just sitting around the table with a nice cup of tea or coffee and having a beautiful chat together. So today, I don't know about you. I don't know if you brought a drink with you, but I'm sipping some hot water with ginger and lemon on my, it's an unusual time for me to be doing that, but I am. Hi, Laurel. How about you? Do you have are you sipping a drink over there today? Are you sipping a coffee
I
or a tea?
I am not, but I wish I was. I wish I was at your table. That sounds delicious.
Yeah, I do like to do that every once in a while. Some fresh ginger and lemon, and it's just so good. It clears the throat up too. Good.
Mm.
Oh, today we have a great episode, and we're doing another three today. Last time we did the three worst habits, mindset habits, and we had a really fun time on that show. So today we're going to keep the vibe going, and we're going to have some fun, and we're going to talk about the three of the big blocks to your beautiful work and your beautiful life. Whew. Laurel and I were talking about this topic, friends out there. It's we'll let you into our background, activity a little bit here. But we were talking about it and we thought, this is kind of hard because there are a lot of blocks really to, your beautiful work, your beautiful life. And we just picked the top three that came into us. So I'm sure there's a lot more we could say on this topic. And, but we really want to help you not only identify them, but then how to work with them. So we, need to have some time to do that. So we're picking three.
Yes,
Oh, Laurel, here we go. Should we dive right into the first one?
please. Yes, let's do it.
Okay, the first one is I love this one for so many reasons. And the word, I'm just going to use the one word we picked, which is denial. And denial, I feel like my first lesson when I was in counseling psychology classes on denial was such an aha moment because I'm going to offer it up to everybody else. Maybe you'll have an aha moment too, like I did. But it was my professor was talking about how the brain is actually wired to deny something that happens that could overwhelm you and literally take you out. And so it's a protection mechanism in the human body is built for survival in so many ways, right? And so I loved this thought because I was like, wow, we always think of denial as, oh, you're just living off in your own little world kind of thing. But denial is a real thing in the psychology of our humanity to help keep us safe.
Yes, I love that. That explains so much. When you think about maybe, how much we experience and even what we experience when we're young, maybe sometimes it's too much. And that's
Yes.
why we deny. And I think the word denial comes up a lot in what's the word I'm looking for? Like intentional deceitful, right? Or intentional deceit. And I don't think that that's what we're talking about at all.
Yeah.
I think it's the denial of maybe it's how we see things differently or how we see things as they're not factual, maybe.
Yeah, right. And the other place that comes up for me, having had training and done work with people struggling with addictions, is it comes up a lot there because in order to, keep using or keep over it, coming to excess with alcohol and other substances, you have to start to deny a lot of the things, a lot of the troubling things that it's actually making happen in your life. You're just so focused on getting the feeling rather than, the destruction it might be to your work, to your relationships, to your health, right? All these things. And in order to keep going, you actually do deny them because, otherwise you could talk yourself out of doing something. So it's really it's an interesting topic. And I feel like for many of us, right, those of you who are listening to us and our friends out there, what you want to be on the lookout for is the way that it's showing up for you, maybe as a minimizing, right, as a looking away from the things that are uncomfortable, the things that would be too much trouble to start to really look at closely. The ways that you might be saying, "Oh, that's not really a problem," but then it keeps showing up and keeps showing up and keeps bothering you, right? Like that's what we're talking about, I think, mostly today, Laurel, don't you? As
Yes,
we're
I
addressing
do.
this one, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, one of two things came up for me. Um, those things that cause overwhelm, and it
Mm.
could be, and I'll give this, retail therapy, right? Retail therapy,
Yeah.
um, may be a feeling that you are looking to achieve, right? It feels
Yeah.
good to be shopping or spending or buying. And
Yeah.
the denial piece might be that you're spending too much money, but you're telling yourself that it's okay for whatever reason,
Yes.
right?
Yep. That's great.
Another area, and this one I'm going to speak into on my own. Like, I have a 2,400 square foot basement in my house.
Mm.
We've been in our house 18
That's a
years.
big
That's
basement.
a big basement. We live on a one level house, a ranch style house. The basement, we've been here 18 years. That basement is full. It is
Mm.
overwhelming for me.
Yeah, I bet.
My sense of denial that it's not a problem is off the charts. you know?
Well, well, yes and no.
Well, okay. But
Yeah,
this is the denial helps me not get overwhelmed when
exactly.
I am
Yeah.
choosing to look at it like it's really not as big of a problem as I perceive, right?
Mm.
That's my own sense of denial to just manage my emotion tied to that project. That is overwhelming.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's great. That's great. So, as we begin to work with denial, I mean, I feel like you've just carved open the pathway, right, to how do we work with denial and the example that you used. So, you can pick any example in your life. Laurel just gave us a great concrete one, and you can, it can be a great metaphor for anything that, you might be struggling with. And it could be what you're looking at internally. It could be what you're looking at externally, either way, right? But the pathway out is just what Laurel was indicating, which was it is a huge project that if I thought about it all the time, would literally I feel defeated. And so what you need is a plan. Right. You need a plan and you need to know that you can begin to create time in your calendar to actually address the overwhelming project that is for you, your basement, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think it's important that no matter what it is that we are
Yeah.
choosing to avoid or deny, right?
Yeah.
Just look at it as a way of how can you manage that in a healthier way,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely. I was going to say, I'm going to offer another example because I feel like the example that's coming into me, I feel like the little angels around me are saying, you need to mention this thing, okay? So I'm going to just talk about when I was really unhappy in my first marriage, and I denied it. I didn't deny it for a long time, but I had no idea how to address it. And so at some level, I denied it, right? I denied looking at it closely. I denied talking about it with other people. I denied I was acknowledging it to myself, but then I was just making myself suffer and not doing anything. So, for me, the beginning was okay, I'm just going to start to talk about with my husband the reality of how I'm not happy and begin to open that pathway up. And so it was rather than like having a whole plan of how I was going to address it because that I didn't know, but I knew that I had to, and I knew I had to take a first step. And so that was the first step. And then I realized, okay, now I need to take another step. What is the next step going to be, right? And so I started to do that one step at a time, which helped me feel like I was doing it and allowing whatever the response was going to be from somebody else, because this is hard if you're doing it in a relationship or in a marriage, in a partnership, right? Like this is big stuff. If you really want to change or you're not happy, to start to address that with somebody who might be going along thinking everything's fine, is a big deal.
it
And
really is.
yeah, and they're going to have feelings and they're going to want to talk and they're going to say things that might make you think things that you hadn't been thinking before. So one step at a time for me was really
Yeah.
how I did it. Yeah.
And I love that example because what was coming from me was, self-denial, right? Where we
Yeah.
deny ourselves something that we know we want or need because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know,
know.
it's hard work.
It is hard work, and yet it's so worth it because I feel like as you go back, right, as you go through this work and you start to address all of these things and your life starts to change and get better. That's why we do it. That's why we're willing to put the denial aside and say, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to address
Yeah.
this. How do I begin? Let's get going. And yeah, so Laura, let's get something on your calendar for starting on your bakery
My
project.
basement. Okay, pack your bags. It's going to be a basement cleaning party. You're
That's right. That's
invited.
right. I'm invited. Ooh, lucky me. Okay. All right, Laura, we could talk for a really long time on now, but we are going to move on. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Do you remember the next one? We both suffer from this one and have healed
Yes,
ourselves somewhat, but it's always a work in progress, isn't it?
that's right. It is a work in
Yeah.
progress. Perfectionism.
I know.
Perfectionism is something that is a block for me.
Yeah. Me
It's
too.
something I would never claim I've healed myself. It is it's a daily, weekly,
Mhm.
constant awareness of where my perfectionism shows up. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I feel like I'm doing a good job. Like I've come a long way, a really long way in that. I don't feel like it gets me anymore. And when I notice that I'm in that cycle of perfectionism, I'm able to like watch myself a little bit and say, what's really going on here? And are you feeling out of control? Why are you trying to control this thing to the perfect nth degree? And then how and start to just at work with myself around that and be a little more lenient around not having to have a perfect outcome or a perfect product or show up perfectly. Yeah, shall we say? Yeah,
The P word.
the
Yeah.
P word.
It is a hard one. I think
Mhm.
I bring mine all the way back to approval, right? And pleasing
Yes,
other
me too.
people, right?
Yep, me too. Me too.
Um, producing things, work, being in a way that other people are happy with. And
Hmm.
so that's, you know, for me now I'm so aware of that piece of it
Yeah.
and trying to break maybe or sever the expectations of myself because I now carry those things where it's not other people, it's my own standards. For a while when I was working in corporate, I used to say, I don't hold anyone to standards different than
Yeah.
I hold myself to. And I thought, now I know, well, that was the problem.
She's a pain in the neck. Her standards are outrageous.
They are outrageous. They were outrageous.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so I'm looking for at this phase in my life, like ways to show up, imperfectly, right? Where can I
Hmm.
play? Where can I, recently, as you know, Laurel, I did a painting night and I did a post
Hmm.
about that. I decided in the last couple days that painting and being messy on canvas, it might be, or on some other platform, I don't know what it's going to be, but being able to just be messy might
Yeah.
be something I really need. What
Yes.
about
Yes.
you?
Yeah. I feel like uh, when I think back on my journey with perfectionism, I do think it really started a lot with people pleasing, and now, like it really has been recognizing the high standards that I hold, and so much of my remedial work in that area came from literally from mapping out from doing my own beautiful work and then getting to the point where I started to share my beautiful work. And one of the ways I did that was through my first book, Courageous Woman: Live Your Inner Power. And in Live Your Inner Power, that the wheel that I created, the Your Inner Power wheel, the second practice of those 8 practices is practicing acceptance. And so I spent a long time reflecting on the idea of how transformative, incredibly transformative is self-acceptance, right? And not only self-acceptance, but looking around us and saying the world is what it is. This is what it is. And it's not that I'm not going to work to change it or grow or help evolve it, but I accept that it's in this imperfect condition and I allow it all in here in my space, and I'll hold it all just as it is. And that practice is so much about, releasing judgment, releasing denial, releasing resistance to what is. And so I feel like, that I steeped myself in that journey for so many years as I was putting out the Living Your Power books and my classes and all that stuff. And so I say today, I think here's the lens I look through for where I am with perfectionism is it's always a work in progress, but I'm actually okay with my high standards. Like for a while, I kind of wanted to get rid of my high standards. Like, what's with the high standards? Why do you have everything look beautiful? And why do you want everybody to do their inner work or whatever? It's like, I don't know. I just want the world to be harmonious and beautiful. And I'm not ashamed of that anymore. I'm kind of like, hey, look, this is what I think would be lovely for the world, and for all of us. And yet I'm not holding everybody to those standards. I'm just like, I like mine.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we work with this one, any other tips, Laurel, as we work with perfectionism and help our listeners in their transformational work around perfectionism?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that the acceptance of what is, right, is so important.
Key.
And, and looking at all those pieces of, maybe the perfectionism, those things that really are necessary for you to hold to a higher standard, right? Yeah. Like I might want to be, we talked about this in the 4 agreements, impeccable with my word. Well, impeccable is pretty damn close to perfection, right? Right? And so where is it that it's important? And then where can you let go? Where can you let the imperfect in?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you brought up that word and how it's close to perfectionist, because I love in that book of the 4 agreements, he uses the definition of it as without sin.
Right.
And so if we could think of perfectionism that way, right?
Ooh.
Just being not sinning against ourselves, and I think that ties us back to just looking around and going, this is what it is. And, what can we do with this now?
Yeah, that's good.
That's
okay.
Good. All right. Number 3.
You're up. No, I'm go.
Up. Okay. Expectations is the word. Loaded expectations, high expectations, unreasonable expectations, others' expectations, all the expectations, right?
And even no expectations.
No expectations. Wow.
Sometimes that's a problem.
I know.
Sometimes having no expectations actually is a block.
God, it is such a block. It is. Oh, all right, we're done. No, I'm only kidding, but still, I was like, wow, that's such a revelation. I was like going the other way. And then when you take it to the other extreme, it's still just as, detrimental.
Maybe that's where the blocks are in all that we've talked about. Like one extreme or the other in any of them is not where, not where the magic happens.
Yeah. Ooh. That could be a quote. That's good. We have to work on that one.
Okay.
Quote. I love that. Yeah, but I do think that, and how do we work with expectations? So especially others' expectations. I think, we want it. It's kind of like the perfectionist and the high standard stuff and the people pleasing, right? It might have started outside you, other people's expectations, but as you grow into adulthood, right? If you're still holding other people's expectations, why is it now other people's? Is it really yours now? Have you adopted that as your own expectation to be able to to look at that. And if it is other people's, do you have the courage to face, standing up to maybe the conflict of addressing, well, that's not really what I'm looking for in my life, right? That might be your expectation of what you want in the relationship or in life or in a life experience, but mine's different.
Yeah. You know what's coming up really strong for me as you were talking about that is how we use expectations, whether it's other people's or our own, or having no expectations, wherever we grasp onto expectations, when we use it to keep us safe or keep us stuck, right?
Yeah.
And so think of the example of other people's expectations. You may not be living up to your fullness because other people's expectations are too high. So you just might give up, right?
Yeah.
A coping mechanism there. Or set expectations of yourself so high that you're never satisfied with what is,
and what you've accomplished.
Right?
Yeah. The
And then,
steps along the way.
and then the low expectations or none, is that really? Because sometimes it's easier. I mean, I did go through a period in my life where it was easier to have no expectations than to be disappointed.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
I do. That's a perfect way to put it, right? Because if we have no expectations, we won't be disappointed.
That's right. And so all of those are somewhat, when I think about blocks to our beautiful work, really get in the way of being who we're meant to be and enjoying the presence that the present.
Yeah, right. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So, more on the transformation or working with expectations. Anything else coming up for you, Laurel, as we kind of wrap up today here with the show? Yeah.
I think it's really important to decipher where did those expectations, why do I hold those expectations? Are they mine or someone else's?
Yeah. And then I think if they are someone else's, being able to, get some support around maybe being able to address the conflict that might be involved with addressing some of those expectations. Because I know, if you have a long-standing relationship, especially if a parent is aging or they're at a place in their life and they have these expectations, they've always had them, and you finally, have come into adulthood and you're like, no, these are your expectations. These are not mine, right? But you haven't been able to address it well in a way that you want to, like getting some little coaching or help, around that topic is really worthwhile if you feel like you just don't have the courage yet to address it, because there are ways to do it, I think, and not necessarily have the relationship end over it. I think that's it's up to us to at least give it a try. You might want to go back to, when I was talking about my other example, like one step at a time. What might be the first step in addressing the conflict, and then see what happens, and then take it to the next one. Yeah,
that's good.
Well, Laurel,
another episode
in the books for us, and out to our beautiful listeners out there doing their beautiful work. We love you all. And I'm going to just do a cheers to your beautiful work and addressing any blocks, because we know it can be hard. And that's good. Bring your tea, bring your coffee. We will be back for more, won't we, Laura?
Yes, looking forward to it.
Me too. See you next time. Bye for now.